Welcome back to Podiatry Marketing. I'm your host, Jim McDannald. With me, as always, is Tyson Franklin. Tyson, how are things going today?
I'm thanks, Jim. It's August at the moment, so we're towards the end of winter in Australia, but which is no real big deal for Cairns. Down south, it gets a little bit colder, but up here in Cairns, to give you an equivalent, it's probably usually during the day 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's our winter.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably one of the few months where I'm actually warmer than you are and more humid than you are. I'll take what I can here in Montreal, so that's always good.
Yeah, it's where you. Is it like a definite 4 seasons, or is it only 2 seasons, cold and hot?
Well, that's the thing. They said it's 2 seasons. It's winter and construction. Those are the 2 seasons in Montreal, because it's constant potholes. They're trying to fill all spring, summer, and fall.
Because of the winter.
Yeah, because of the winter, the freeze and thawing really causes like huge gaps in the road to open up. We do have north of Vermont and New York, so you get these like Appalachian, the reds, oranges, the yellows of the trees changing colors, and so, I joke about the winter in construction, but I definitely feel it can be 4 to 6 months depending on the year. So,
yeah, I suppose it's here in Cairns, even though we only have 2 seasons, warm and warmer, but we also have a wet season. So during the summer, it's usually a monsoonal type weather. It can rain constantly for weeks, or it mightn't rain. You just don't know what you're going to get. And sometimes it'll go a little bit longer. More rain we get, roads flood, potholes, exactly the same thing. Base the seasons based on potholes, as you do.
Yeah.
So let's get started for today.
Yeah, let's get rolling. What are we going to talk about today?
I wanted about a yearly marketing planner. So it's thinking about tactics or anything like that, or what you're specifically going to do. It's more looking at your whole year as almost like a roadmap. So it's just giving you some direction on where you are, say in January, for example, or say August now, and what are you going to be doing over the next 12 months. So a lot of people will start this January and do it for 12 months, which is how I do it. But you can start it at any time. And the idea is really just to give you direction without any specifics. And I always say your yearly marketing planner is actually set in stand. You can add things, take things away. It's set in sand. It's not. So the joke I always say when I'm doing talks is the only thing set in concrete is Jimmy Hoffa. It's really funny. Once you understand the joke, it's a funny joke. But I look at it, you're designing, where do you want to do over the next 12 months? And there's different parts of, if you can plan it out and give you some form of direction, then it's not just for you, but it's also for your team. It's also if a sale came and saw you, or if somebody said, oh, there's this event on, does it fit in with our plans for the next 12 months? Or is it something you just put off till next year?
I think we talked a little bit before the show started recording. There's definitely in podiatry, there are seasonal things that you definitely should. And when you take time and to step back a little bit, sometimes those things become more apparent or more obvious than if you're just like going from month to month with no overall plan. You're just having a high level view.
Yeah. And I think when you say over seasons, most countries will have 4 seasons, except where you are, it's cold and potholes. But I'm sure the activities that people do, say in your neck of the woods during winter, are going to be completely different to me, based on what other people are doing. So in Cairns, we have 4 seasons. We have summer, really hot. We have autumn, it's just hot. It's beautiful, but for most people down south, they can't go, still a bit hot, but there's no humidity. And then it go into spring and it really starts to hot up again. So we're a very outdoors type climate. Even when it's raining and things like that, people still want to go to the beaches and go hiking up hills, and we've got the reef and the rainforest. So it's a very outdoors sort of area. If you're in a colder climate, you actually have those 4 seasons, cut you out of it, and they have quite a hot summer, your activities will change. So I think that's something that you need to look at your yearly planner and distinctly break it up into quarters to start with. What happens over those seasonal changes, and does it affect how you will approach your marketing?
Like you said, obviously Canada is stereotypically hockey obsessed, right? So if it's hockey season, maybe that's a time to put forth a marketing plan to get those patients need either an update to their orthotics, or maybe they need new orthotics. There's definitely, like you said, there's custom ways to make sure what your marketing is doing and what you want to do in your practice also aligns with that specific seasonal need of the patient.
Yeah, because I've seen people say in Australia, the normal season will kick off football if you're in the UK, soccer in Australia or America, but some people in Australia say football as well. But the season will kick off around April. So let's say June sports. So if you were going to write something about soccer, you want to do a bit of a promotion towards, because soccer is a really big Australia, especially at junior level, and it probably is in the States as well. If you're wanting to really target that area, then don't write all these articles or do a big push about soccer in November. It's not the time of the year to be doing it. It's your March, April leading into that season is when you want to do it. So you look at your marketing planner. Sport or triathlons might be a sport. When does that kick off? When is it starting? And put your focus into that sporting area at that particular time.
No, I think what I've noticed for people is that soccer is really starting to take off because the men's national team is going to be at the World Cup this year. So like, it's also being aware of going on in some of the, maybe you are in sports medicine, you know that soccer is having a moment in your country or where based at, and utilizing that kind of momentum. And obviously you're probably not the podiatrist for that national team, but there's ways to associate yourself with that kind of that movement or that momentum in area of practice that you want to market and you know something you would enjoy doing in your own clinic.
Yeah, and it's also what's really popular in your town. So in Cairns here, netball, I don't know, do you know what netball? No. Go and Google that, netball. It's like basketball without a backboard and completely different rules. The only similarity actually is the ball's round and it's a completely different ball as well. So really I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I have played mixed netball a couple of times and it's a really fast stop start, really rugged on your knees, ankles. It's prone to a lot of injury, lower limb injuries. Cairns, we have a massive netball competition up here. And my clinic was a sponsor for it, probably about 8 years that we used to sponsor the local netball competition. But at certain times, they pretty much played all year round, but they did have major competitions at certain times. And they also have a national netball competition now, which is big. So as that's kicking off, talk about netball. So thinking about what sports you're interested in, because if you have no interest in soccer and don't care about it, then you may go, that's not what I'm after with tennis kickoff. But be aware of all the different sporting seasons and put that into your marketing planner. The idea is you have it in your marketing planner. Whether you do something about it or not is really up to you. But if you don't put it in the planner, the season could start and finish or be halfway through before you go, oh, that's right. The tennis has started, the netball has started, the soccer has started. We should have done something. And next thing your competitors have.
No, that's a perfect example. Previously, I was a big into the running scene, the sports medicine. Where I practiced in Eugene, Oregon. Not only did they host the USA track field trials, there would be an annual marathon of large annual races each year. And a lot of those races would have a training program 8 weeks or 12 weeks before the Eugene Marathon. So that just knowing that those things, not only the race itself, but also this training plan or the training groups and finding your ways to co-market with those other folks, whether it be physiotherapists, physical therapists, the race organization. There's interesting marketing opportunities that happen along, like you talked about, whether it be soccer, these different physical activities where, someone's going to get an overuse injury or maybe a traumatic injury where you can be a real value add in multiple ways.
I definitely agree. It's like you said, it's that lead up to this. So even though I say rugby league here in Australia, the main competition kicks off March. Most local comps will be March, April. But you don't just, the season started, let's all rock up with our boots and run out in the field, which I have done that, and I don't advise it. At least a 2-month pre-season training leading up to any sport if you're going to take it serious. So when I was playing on the Gold Coast and I was playing A-grade down there, and even I was playing A-grade rugby union up here, there was at least a 2 months training period up to, and the amount of injuries people used to get at training just when they were kicking back off, because they may not have done too much for a couple of month break. So that's a real point. It's not just when the season starts, it's that pre-season actually leading up to it. And needs to be in your yearly marketing planner.
Yeah, that's something you can, if you enjoy it, if it works out one year, the great thing about some of these annual events, it's going to come back around on the calendar the next year, right? And then maybe you missed some this year, maybe this one didn't work and there's something you want to try instead. Things like high school sports, Australia, but like high school sports are huge in North America, and those are also on an annual basis. So the more you are in tune with those types of patients you want to treat and what their schedules are, the more opportunities you'll have for sure.
Yeah, I think high school sports in Australia have the popularity of marbles. People don't rush out to go and watch high school sports, but I have But I was in the States and I was staying in an Airbnb and it was a Friday night. I saw some lights on in the distance, heard a few people cheering, and I thought, it is football season. So I went for a walk down the road. It was a local high school. And so I went, I've never sat in. So I went and got my hot dog and drink and sat in the stands with everybody and cheered team. And how many people were at this high school game, and these kids were terrible. They weren't very good at all. They're dropping the ball, everyone, people are throwing it, and it's just, but they were the crowd was getting behind them, and the local side won. Actually, a lot of fun. So it is. If you podiatry clinic in the States near a local high school that you have a theme, just be aware of when the football season starts, especially if you have an interest in that area. But I also think it's just major events throughout the year. Like when the Olympics are on, what can you do in your clinic or in your business or in your area to just build up to that? So I remember one particular year, I think it was the Athens Olympics, which is a while ago now, because my daughter is called Tia, and she was born during the Olympics, and Tia means princess in Greek. So that's how it came up. But I remember this one particular year, and we did our whole reception area up in Greece. We had pylons done up as you went through the door, and we had a whole pile of things there. And we had a medal tally on the main door as you went into the consultation room, how many gold medals we had. And at the time, we had someone working with us who was a Kiwi, and New Zealand hadn't won anything. So we had them up there as well, just to stir them up. But knowing the Olympics, so this year is the Commonwealth Games, which for Canada, they'd be very aware the Commonwealth Games are coming up. You need to know, where is it? What month of the year is it on? Marketing planner, and work your way up to that so that when it comes out, so many different sports, what can you write about, talk about, put on your website, just be in that area.
Now that these collect media changes, these channel changes, there's very few kind of like things that bind us all together. So finding those events, is it the Olympics? Is it the Super Bowl? Are these things that you can in concert with that really help show that you are in touch with what's going on, and that those types of areas are those things you want to press?
Yeah, I know Super Bowl used to be on, I think is it the first Monday in February that's normally on?
Yeah, it's usually around there.
Yeah, so when I knew it was on, if I was at the clinic, I had the Super Bowl on the big set in the reception area. I don't care if patients liked it or not. But just something I always put it up there because to me, any major sporting event, we used to try and just put it on the TV because we knew about it. And it was never going to be offensive. No one would sit there and go, hey, I'm offended that you've got the Super Bowl and it's just disgusting, put on the midday movie. But things you can use the planner for is if you have a special interest in certain areas, so whether it's running, could be is throughout the year think, okay, are we going to talk about heel pain this time of the year? Are we going to talk about fungal nails as it leads up to summer?
Right.
Do you back to school that you're actually doing? We used to, every January, February, we used to have a concept that we did for 8 weeks called the party's over and it's time to exercise. So it used to be January, February, because a lot of people would set all the New Year's resolutions and usually by about the second week of January, they're giving up on them all because they're in pain. And how we had it done, it used to say, I remember the exact wording. So once I get started, I can actually remember it. Oh, that's right. The party's over and it's time to exercise. But a painful feet stopping you? If so, you should see the foot doctors at Podiatry. And then we'd have the details. So that was how the ad actually went. We would have it in print. We had a video done up of it that were just still shots, but the talking went over the top and we used that on our social media pages. We had radio going at the same time saying, party's over, but a painful feet stopping, and we go through the same thing. That was my radio voice.
The Super Bowl Sunday is on Monday. That's the joys of the international podcast like we have. You said Monday, and I was like, yeah, no Sunday, but it would be Monday for you.
True, yes. We're in the future. That's why you can ring me. You can always ring me and tell me, did the world come to an end? And that's still. But some other things, like I always talk about, like previous episodes, we've talked about the marketing pillars. And one thing I do with some of the groups that I do coaching with, I say to them, every month, pick a pillar and make focus for the month. So you look at your 12 months and go, okay, where are we going to put the pillars each month? What's our monthly focus going to be in each of those marketing pillars? The best thing about it, like you said previously, is once you do it up and the finishes, you can reflect back on that and use previous to help you plan the next one. As you do that in a row, the better it gets, the more fine-tuned it gets. And then when an opportunity arises, you go, okay, where can this fit in? it's not going to fit in. Or you can go, wow, that's great. There's the Ironman is in June. So let's make sure we're there and let's put a tent up just down the road from where you actually have to pay to have a tent. A promotion that we did that for a few years. That was a lot of fun.
No, that's a great idea out in year one. It's an incremental process.
No.
And it's one of those things that just get started. And like the first year, you can just build off that. Like you said, once you have that rotation of events or ideas on paper planned out, it just makes it so much easier in year 2, 3. And you can really dial in what's and what doesn't and eliminate what doesn't work. So I think those are all really good, Tyson.
Yeah. So we used to, and at the end of the month, we would, as the month was progressing, we would do certain activities. We would take notes down, what worked, what went well, what didn't go so well. And if we could do it again, what would we change? And we would put these notes down like in a book that month. At the end of the month, we'd then do a reflection of the month. If we had the whole January over again, what would we change? And we were noting down some things. So then when we got to the end of the year, we'd reflect over the whole year, read all our notes that we took throughout the year. Because tell you right now, in December, you cannot remember anything about the previous January. You can't remember what I did yesterday, let alone what I did in January.
I barely remember last week's podcast.
Well, yeah, when you see those police shows and the cop turns up and says, what were you doing June the 24th in 2017? Well, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have to go to my diary. As you're doing things, what went well, what didn't go well, what would you change? And you do that each time you do an activity. Then at the end of the month, doing a monthly reflection, noting that all down. Then at the end of the year, reviewing all those notes before you start the next year. You'll be sending me gifts and thanking me for that tip.
Trying to cram all that stuff or forget 90% of it at the end of the year.
Yeah, being proactive with your marketing as a big overview, instead of just being reactive. Oh, the guy down the road is doing this, therefore I should do that. Oh, this person's doing these real videos on Instagram. Oh, therefore I should be on Instagram. And it's people just these knee-jerk reactions to what everybody else is doing. And I think it's important to watch what competitors are doing, but reacting to what they're doing. Look at what they're thinking, okay, where's that fit in with the planning that I want to do or the direction I want to take my business? And if it doesn't fit, then don't worry about it.
100%.
I am covered on all that. Anyone who's listening to this today, sit down, start working out the next 12 months. And like I say, I like it January to December. I think that's a good period of time. But it's August now. So if you start September till December and then do a fresh one January through to December. And I tell you, it'll make a huge difference to how you actually run your business.
No, for sure. I really appreciate those tips. Those are going to be very helpful for our listeners.
Okay. I will talk to you next week, Jim.
All right. Sounds good, Tyson.